The presenting sponsor of Moon Tower Soccer is FVF Law.
To find out what makes FVF a different kind of injury law firm, you can visit fvf.law.
Hello, friends, and thanks for listening to Moon Tower Soccer. This week, we're going to discuss Dani Pereira's trade to Montreal. We will discuss another incoming player, Przemysław Płacheta, and we also talk about the new third kit being leaked from a somewhat unlikely source, and a few other pieces of Austin FC news in what turned out to be a surprisingly busy week. My name is Landon, and I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Jeremiah Bentley.
Hey, everybody. I'm Jeremiah Bentley. And Landon, we were in the middle of our World Cup action, although we're, 92, 93 games in with about a dozen to go. So we're recording this on a Sunday afternoon right now because we both have plans for the Mexico match this evening and the U.S. match tomorrow, and feel like probably nothing is going to happen in Austin FC land between now and then. And I guess
knock on wood there.
Yeah, for sure. It's because there's a lot that happened in Austin FC land this week already. So this should be a fun one. I think last week I went into Tuesday morning trying to come up with another game to play for this week, thinking nothing would happen. And maybe we would, do like a live watch of the U.S. match on Monday night to give us something to talk about. But you know what? Let's get into the news of the week because it was busy.
Yeah, and let's maybe give ourselves a little placeholder here or at some other point in the show that if news happens to break on Monday, maybe I or both of us or somebody will break in with a little update on that news. But as of now, we're recording Sunday, expecting nothing else to happen. So, let's jump into it. Some really big news, like quite a bit of varying news, but the biggest news of the week is the Dani Pereira trade. This is one of the biggest pieces of news in Austin FC history, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It is. This is news we got on Thursday at 10 a.m. Austin FC announced today the club has traded midfielder Dani Pereira to CF Montreal in exchange for $1.4 million in 2026 GAM, $700,000 in 2027 GAM, and up to $250,000 in conditional GAM. And Austin also retains a sell-on percentage of a future transfer. So first super draft pick for the club, one of 4 players, I think, left on the team from the original day one roster. I forgot this, one of 2 starters left from the original day one roster along with Brad Stuver. So a guy that built a long history in Austin over several years, also a part of the community, like a player that people loved and loved to be around. And so this is a huge news for Austin.
Yeah, the fans loved him. It seems like the players loved him as well. There's all these messages coming out from all the other players. Dani's sharing these on his Instagram story of every player that puts out something about Dani being gone, how we're going to miss him. Dani's sharing those. And that got me, man. Like, it's tough because, these guys, they're business associates at a minimum, but whenever some of these guys are around for so long and then a personality like Dani, it seems like for as much of a rascal as he seems to be, he's also very well liked, and that all those people really do love this guy. So it's super sad to see a guy who carries this much weight in the club history and our experience of this club to be going. It's it's tough.
Yeah, it is. And I think one of the things that just shows the passage of time is that there was this picture of the little group of young guys that kind of get together and hang out a lot at dinner, probably like a going away dinner a couple days ago. And Dani is the oldest of the young guys at this point. Is he the responsible older adult for that crew?
Not.
Or no, we're not going to go that far, right?
So yeah, what else do we need to talk about here, Jeremiah?
I think we have to get into just the move itself and why this move. And I believe we put a clip on Instagram when this came out of a chat from a couple of weeks ago about why this move makes sense logically, even if it doesn't emotionally. So I think we have to start there.
Yeah. So from a pure business sense, this is, from what I could find, this is the second largest amount of GAM in a trade. Guaranteed. I think there's escalators on certain deals that maybe could have changed the order around. But as far as the guaranteed money, which I think is just over $2 million, this is the second largest trade in MLS history. So business-wise, this is huge. And there's gamflation is real. Like there is more and more gam in the league. And so it's not necessarily apples to apples, but this is still a very large amount. Whenever MLS posted the amount of gam each team had earlier on in the season, I think even before being applied to the 2026 numbers, the biggest numbers were like 4 or 5 million. And so 2 million in a single trade incoming is a really big number. As far as like the place in the team, this is something we touched on in that show a few weeks ago, is that I think it can be hard to look at this and say, like, Dani is one of our better players. Why are we trading him? Like we saw Sabovic's name get brought up a lot, right? Like, why aren't we trading Sabovic? The answer is because nobody wants Sabovic.
Right.
It would be amazing if we could trade Sabovic for $2 million, but nobody's doing that. And so you look at your assets, who has value, who wants them, where can you actually cash in on some of these assets? Dani Pereira is the unfortunate victim, we'll say. I don't know if that's the right word, but of this trade here, because he plays a position of the other most valuable guy in the team, Owen Wolf. They don't play the position the same way, but as far as like making a midfield fit together on a field, they do too many of the same things and not enough of different things, if that makes sense, where neither of them are 10s, neither of them are real 6s. And so it's tough to get like a complete midfield around them on the field. So trying to improve the team, get some GAM in so that we can actually make some improvements and build a more logical roster. These are the types of moves that you have to do. And sometimes it feels heartless. Sometimes it feels cutthroat. And maybe it is sometimes. But I think for those reasons, this is a really good piece of business by the club, as much as like hurts us as people to see this kid that we watched grow up here leave and go and play for another MLS team. That it is a good piece of business.
It is for those reasons. And I think this is something that we've talked about even back to the offseason. If Austin was going to get any flexibility and be able to make meaningful progress on this roster, like somebody was either it was going to have to be Dani or Owen, because they're the only real valuable assets that this club has. And so I think you find, a great deal at the great time. Like Dani's a really good player. I think probably this ceiling is lower than we maybe thought it was going to be 3 or 4 years ago. So it feels like he's like a super solid MLS dude that's probably going to be really good. And I am very happy to also see that the team that value him enough to want to make this acquisition for so much is also a team that's in the Eastern Conference, so we don't have to play him twice every year. Because that would hurt, man. It's going to hurt when we play Montreal, I think, and seeing him line up in a jersey on the other side, or when we do. I don't know when that will be, but it would really hurt if he was in Portland or Dallas or Houston or like somewhere in the Western Conference.
Yeah, looking at his future in Montreal, it's not a good team. It is a team who severely underspends, and this is even probably an ambitious move for them, where they are often using GAM to bring in kind of distressed assets. I wouldn't call Dani a distressed asset by any means, but he is within the league. They're spending this stockpile of GAM that they've just not been using on anything else. And Montreal is a team that will sell players. They've sold on their best young player pretty consistently for the last little stretch of time. And so I think it will be in their best interest, and they will probably do their best to let Dani shine there, so that if there is a potential of selling him onto Europe, that will happen, and they will be more than happy to do that. I am a little bit worried that they won't necessarily be able to put the pieces around him that he needs, which I think was one of the things holding him back here in Austin. Was he's such a special player, but such a specific player that you need to have the right pieces around him. Austin FC front office under 2 administrations never really gave him those pieces. And part of it's on Dani's side of just like needing to have those pieces around him in order for him to be the best version of himself, but they also never gave it to him. And so maybe he'll be able to get that a little bit more in Montreal, and he can shine a little bit more, reach his full potential, and then maybe that big move comes on, which it'll be tough to watch from an Austin perspective. But I don't know if you said this in reading the trade details, but Austin is maintaining a percentage of the sell-on. It does not say how much. And I think there was also some reporting from Montreal saying that Austin is also retaining a portion of his salary, also not saying how much. So for the remainder of the year. So if they do sell him on to Europe somewhere, Austin will still get a piece of that pie, which is good to hear. But yeah, it'll be interesting to watch him. And then, like you said, at times difficult to watch him when he's lining up against us.
Yeah, it will be. Well, I think I want to go on to two of the things that often come up when people wonder about these deals. Like, one is, how did Dani find out? And we believe that it was like an individual conversation with him the day before the announcement comes out. So he's on board with it. I don't want to say this to be dismissive of Dani, but from his comments sort of around transactions and roster stuff, he seems like one dude that's just like, okay, I'm going to go play in Montreal now, right? Like, he does not seem to me like a guy that would like throw a big fit about, his pride or whatever. It's just like, he seems pretty matter of fact as like a soccer playing human.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's a kid who's gone through a lot of change in his life anyway, right? So he's probably well adapted to it. But he has been here a long time, and this is all he's known of his adult life. So I'm sure there's some difficult emotions with it for him as well.
Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to talk about was, I think the question has been with this move, and this other move we'll talk about after the break, and a lot of these things, is this club doesn't have a sporting director right now. Like, how is that? How is this decision made? And we get a quote here from Davy Arnaud, who says, this type of decision is always difficult. I and our ownership team feel that this move met the threshold. This is for positioning the team for long-term success, and we executed a plan that was established at the start of the season. So this move has been in the works for a while, based upon that quote from Davy Arnaud.
Yeah, I think that that probably says a lot. Where Roto was shopping anybody and everybody he could, right? Like, he wanted the GAM. So where can we get the GAM? It's by selling or trading guys like Dani Pereira. So yeah, I don't think this materialized over the span of a day or two. Like, this has been a thing that's been going on for a while. And so I'm guessing this conversation started a while back when Roto was here. And the money, like, the numbers just weren't right for Austin to be able to take it on. And so as time progresses, this is the kind of move, and I think this is probably true for all of the moves that have happened so far, where you don't need the input of like a long-term head advisor here. If it's like, okay, we're going to be like, we are looking at trading him, everyone involved thinks this is kind of the right thing in order to improve the roster. We don't have a sporting director, but now the number's right. Montreal met our asking for him. They felt good enough to go ahead and move forward with it. Same with the Robert Taylor buyout. Like, yeah, there's no sporting director, but we don't know the story, but I'm kind of guessing like he wasn't going to be healthy enough to play for a lot of the rest of the season. And so go ahead and buy him out, free up that spot for the rest of the season. You don't need a long-term vision for that. Like, to
do that, right?
Yeah.
And I think anybody who would interview the sporting director, the first thing they would notice is there's not a lot of flexibility in the roster as constructed before Dani went out. So I think you you would expect that somebody that wants to come in and make their own stamp on the club is also going to want to have more of that flexibility. Which reminds me, we did not make space for the GAM chant anywhere in this thing so far. So let's do that now. Yeah. Okay, now, what do you think Austin should or will do with all this GAM we got laying around?
Yeah, it's tough. Like, there is a reasonable argument for saying do nothing with it right now. Wait for your sporting director to come in. Let them get an idea of what they have, what they want to move, what they want to keep, and use it this coming off season. As a fan of the team, I want them to go and bring in a high-level difference-making midfielder right now. Do we know if that's going to happen? I think that depends on if a sporting director is announced like very soon, and even then, it might be too soon to really do much because, like we've said today and in several other shows, like these signings don't come together over a couple of days. It's usually a long run up to actually getting a deal over the line, and sometimes you do that long run up several times over before one actually does get over the line. So it might be hard to get a signing in right at the deadline, but it's also not impossible. So I'm not saying get your hopes up, but I'm also not going to give up hope that we could bring in something big this summer, someone to help us see out the rest of the season.
Yeah, because I think that's another little of the undercurrents from the, let's say, the more skeptical side of the fan base is like, well, we got a coach, but he's not starting until next year. Now you make this huge trade for trading away one of our key players. Like, are we really just giving up on 2026, or like what should we expect? And I think this raises that question even more if there's not another need that comes. I mean, I still always come back to like, these guys are professionals. They want to continue working. They're going to do their best. And Davey Arnaud like probably wants to keep having a job, so he's going to do his best. And I don't think there's any reason why we should give up on the rest of 2026, but I kind of understand the sentiment if there's no incoming move. So with Danny out, I mean, you talked earlier about how Danny Owen kind of do the same things and can't optimize on the field together, but like, do you get worried about the depth of the midfield at this point, just because like having another body that's a competent player is something that Austin needs for sure, given some of the other options, given the age of Ilya, given Dubasarski's learning curve, given whatever we got from Basard Sabovic? Like, does the midfield become a concern for you if there's not another move between now and the end of the year?
It definitely does. And I think we don't know what the team's going to look like coming out of this break. Like, is Davey Arnaud starting right now to try to implement a Jim Curtin system where he's going to change the formation and kind of change the way that they're set up? And maybe that changes which midfielders you want where, and it's not as big of a deal. But even in that reality, I think it still does hurt us. And then if we kind of say like, okay, we're going to stick to more or less what we've been doing and maybe implement a few of Curtin's principles, I think in any scenario, it does hurt us in the short term if we don't have a replacement coming in soon. Because like I said, I don't want anybody to accuse me of being a Danny hater. He is absolutely one of our best players. He's one of our most fun players to watch. And so he's going to be missed on the field, even if it is an awkward fitting midfield together. Like, he was always one of the shining spots on it, and we are a worse team without him on the field a lot of the time. So I think we have pieces and options to kind of make something work, but if somebody goes down, somebody misses with a suspension or something, like it gets thin pretty quick, and we're going to be seeing a lot more of Basard Sabovic in that case.
A lot more than any of us want to see. One thing I thought was cool, because this doesn't always happen with players going out, is the fans were able to throw a little going away party the morning of July 4th. I didn't go. I was out of town, but I also saw there was a whole banner. Did they paint that?
That was a part of a TIFO.
Exist?
Yeah, there was a TIFO.
Okay.
I think it was early this year. Maybe it was from last year, but it was kind of collage TIFO where I don't know if every player, but most of the players had their own little section. Yeah. And so they had his section in storage, and so they brought it out. I think they let the artist who designed that part of the TIFO sign it and then gave it to him and his family. So a nice little going away present for him for sure.
All right. Do you have anything else you want to cover on Dani Pereira before we take a break?
Oh man, I hope we did him justice here. Like it is a sad day, but I'm hoping it is also a day to look forward and a day to say like, okay, we know we've said this every day of our Austin FC existences, but this is going to be what leads us to this next step forward where we become a good team. And so this is a lot of money. The real test is what ownership, what the front office does with this money, because Gam can't play in the midfield for you. And so they need to replace him well. They're not just replace him well, because this is not replacement level midfielder. This is a really good MLS midfielder. You need to bring someone in who is as good or better and also fits in this roster better. And that's going to be the big task of the front office. That's going to be what they are judged on this as, because nobody's going to remember the Gam in a couple of years. They're going to remember who played really well for Austin FC. And if that money gets us there, then that will be a success. But if it doesn't, then you got rid of a fan favorite, a club favorite, like a pillar of this team for no reason.
Man, I really hope that doesn't happen. Okay, well, now let's take a break.
No one is around.
Tower Soccer is brought to you by our friends at FEF Law.
FEF is a different kind of personal injury law firm dedicated to community, transparency, and client education. And they have their own podcast called Summary Judgment that you can check out wherever you get your podcasts.
You can go to FEF.law to find out what makes FEF a different kind of injury law firm, and my understanding your legal options can dramatically change the outcome of a case. Once again, that's FEF.law. Amplify Credit Union is a member-owned financial cooperative that served the needs of Central Texans for over 5 decades. As a credit union, Amplify has no shareholders or parent companies. That means more of your money stays in the community.
Amplify has been the home of fee-free banking since 2022. Their free checking accounts come with 0 overdraft fees or minimum balance. That means Amplify's fee-free checking accounts help you get more mileage from your everyday spending.
Amplify membership is open to any Texas resident. Learn to trust your bank again at Amplify Credit Union. To learn more and to register for free parking at the Esperanza branch on game day, visit goamplify.com/moontower. All right, we are back. We just discussed an outgoing player. Now let's talk about an incoming player. Jeremiah, this was one that we kind of knew about a while back. It seemed like it was definitely still happening. Now it's officially official. Przemysław Płacheta, the Polish winger that we had discussed on a show, I don't know, 2 months ago, something like that.
Right.
Is now officially an Austin FC player. What are the other details that we were told about this in the press release, Jeremiah?
So one is it's a guaranteed contract through 2028, 2029 with an option for 29-30. So this is one where he was out of contract on a free. It's the Roto's favorite type of signing. Oh, and he has his P1 visa and can begin full training with the team on July 1st. So that's good news because we've had this case before where we've had internationals and kind of had to wait around. Gosh, man, the Musajite saga took months, right? But had to wait around to see if they were going to be able to show up. So that means he will be able to jump right in for the club. And I think we also, maybe you'll get into the scouting report, he kind of had a lame last half of the season where he was, but we believe maybe it's because the manager knew he was leaving and decided they didn't really want to play him anymore since he wasn't going to be an asset for the club. So maybe that will explain some of why his numbers are not eye-popping for sure. And I think we touched on that even when we talked about him before, but I think you've watched a little more film and maybe have a few more notes about him as a player.
Yeah, I do. First, I want to talk a little bit about the timeline of this signing, because we asked the question in the first segment of who's making these deals, like who's deciding these things. And in this case, the answer is Rodolfo Borrell. And some of you know where this is going, but for folks who don't, in soccer, in international soccer, whenever you are 6 months out from the end of a contract, you are then allowed by FIFA rules to start shopping yourself, and you can even sign a contract with a new team 6 months before your current contract ends. That would have been back in February right now, and that's when the initial reports started coming out, is that, oh, Austin FC has signed this Polish winger. And from everything that we've learned since then, that was true. He did sign then, which is why they were able to have his visa ready, have all this stuff in place. And he was in Austin the day they announced him. I'm not sure how long he was in town before then, but the day they announced him, he's doing videos and pictures from the stadium. And so that is part of why that happened. But it also means that Rodolfo Borrell was still the sporting director in February, and he was able to make a signing that did not become official until after he was long gone. And we discussed this on the show, like they could have probably worked with the player. Like if it was a scenario where, okay, new coach, new whoever doesn't want this guy, they could approach him and say like, hey, you're not going to be in this guy's plans. Do you want to try to figure out something else? But they couldn't go back on it unilaterally. Like this would have had to have been a joint decision. And so if Płacheta wants to come and be an Austin FC player, they have to let him. And so I'm hoping that's not where this sits. And getting the scouting report, I think he can fit in as a Jim Curtin player to some degree. So I'm hoping that they look at him and say like, oh no, we actually do want this guy. Let's go ahead and bring him in. Let's not try to get him to go away before he's actually here. But as far as who he is as a player, we did do a little scouting report on him a while back. but I think it's worth repeating some of that and then supplementing with some other stuff I've learned since then. He is a I think he's 28-year-old. I've 27 in my
Right, he's
in
28
my
now.
notes here.
Yeah.
So played for the Poland youth national team, had 7 caps for the Poland senior team. Came up through Bundesliga youth setups, including RB Leipzig. Turned proper pro at the age of 21 in Poland. Then went to England at the age of 22, and he's been in England since then, mostly playing in the Championship, so the English second division, but had a stint with Swansea in the Premier League, where I think he got something like 6 appearances in the Premier League.
That was with Norwich was his Premier League.
Oh, was it? Sorry.
Yeah, 12 appearances for Norwich after they got promoted. So he started with them in the Championship, then got promoted, and Swansea was one of his later clubs.
Gotcha. Thank you for the correction. In any case, was a pretty consistent starter for a lot of these teams. Played mostly on the wing, so would play right wing, would play left wing, and then at the end of his time with Oxford, his most recent team, they were often bringing him in late in games as a fullback, meaning that we have yet another left back on the team if we need it.
Great.
But as far as his playing style, he's decent size. I think he's listed as 5'10", got a pretty solid frame on him, is very fast, really good top end speed, really good work rate. So he will make runs endlessly to either get himself open or to make space for teammates. He will track back and defend, and seeing him play as fullback, he will play fullback, make overlapping runs, and then bomb back to try to defend as well. So I think these are the things that I could see him fitting into a Jim Curtin system, is that he will work. He has the physical motor to do it and the willpower to do it, to be able to just run and run and run. He's not a crazy skillful player. He's not dribbling guys, doing super intricate footwork, but he does, from what I've seen, appear to be a pretty intelligent player as far as where he needs to be, when he needs to be there. He'll float inside as players make runs and kind of rotate. And so he's not a kind of winger who's just going to stand on the sideline and wait for you to get the ball to him. He's going to be active. He will move. He will do what the team needs of him, which I think is another encouraging sign here. I said he's not super skillful with the ball, but he does hit a heavy shot. He can play in a decent cross with both feet. So if you play him on the right, play him on the left, he can take you to the end line and play in a cross. He's not going to be fighting to get over to his left foot every time. He's happy to take you the other way and play in a cross with his right foot if he needs to.
So this is not the creative playmaker that's going to fix all of Austin's problems, but it's a guy that you need around. You need guys like this, and especially a guy like this you could acquire for the right price of nothing.
Yeah, for sure. I think the things to be a little bit concerned about is his numbers. Output numbers weren't great. I think it's encouraging that championship team after championship team wanted him and played him a lot. So it's a decent level, depending on the team, depending on the side of the championship you're at, even with or probably better than MLS. And he was playing at that level consistently for 6 years, something like that. So that's really good to see. During that time, not a lot of goals, not a lot of assists, had quite a few injuries here and there. There's some dispute about the most recent one, but there are ones before that are on record and were real for sure.
Yeah.
And so that's something that, I don't know, it doesn't get you super excited. Another thing is, we talked about Jaden Nelson being a pretty out-and-out winger, not really fitting into what Jim Curtin has used in his traditional systems. This is another guy who mostly played on the wing, which is maybe a position we don't want, or has played at fullback, which is a position we don't need. And so that's a little bit concerning as well. I'm thinking that maybe Jim Curtin wants to play a 4-4-2 diamond. I think that just can't be the case for the foreseeable future. With this roster, I don't know that there's going to be a way to play a pure 4-4-2 diamond if that's what he wants to do. So there'll be a place for him on the field. He seems like a versatile enough guy. You'll find a spot to put him. And same with Jaden Nelson. Like, I don't know that he's as versatile, but he's talented enough that you find a place to put him. So that will be interesting to see how they deal with that, if not concerning if they don't use wingers and then we just have Nelson and this new guy with nowhere to go.
Yeah, one other thing that I think I would be more concerned about this move and just where he's going to play if we hadn't gotten the Robert Taylor buyout, because it feels like these are two guys that would be competing for the exact same minutes. So at least he fills that space at a better cost and maybe allows Austin to do something else with more roster flexibility at another place on the field.
And I think he fits the Curtin profile better than Robert Taylor as well. Do you think it's worth doing a pronunciation breakdown one more time here?
Do you want to do it? I feel like I was really happy with the pronunciation guide that the club gave, but
yeah, I think they did pretty well there. So the first name, it's spelled like Przemysław, but the PRZ sound makes the sh sound in Polish. So Przemysław, and then the L is a W. So Przemysław, and the last name Płacheta. So it seems like in England he went by Przemy Płacheta. So I think we can ask once he's here and we get a chance to talk to him. But hopefully he'll be okay with folks calling him Shimmy and then saving their mental energy to get the last name correct.
Well, hopefully he's okay with that, but also that it seems just as likely that English announcers don't really seem to care to learn how to say things in other languages, and they just gave him that whether he wanted to have it or not.
Oh God, the World Cup stuff. It's been a fun World Cup, but I think if it's the English's fault why we implement this rule. Everyone should have to do it, but the English especially should have to take a class on how to pronounce Spanish names, because they're bad at a lot of them, but the Spanish ones are egregious. It's like half the guys that play in the Premier League as well have Spanish origin names. Learn to say Javier. Like, how hard is that one?
Right. Somehow it's tough for certain announcers, which there seem to be a ton of them on the calls in these matches. Let's move on to the other trade like Austin made. I guess it counts as a trade. So Austin trades an international slot to Real Salt Lake for the rest of the season for $235K in GAM. I think we can just see this as the same one that Austin sold to Real Salt Lake for the first half of the season, because they sold 2 away, 1 to RSL, and I think the other one to LA Galaxy. So if you look at it, $470K in 2 transactions for an international slot that you're probably have no intent of using seems like pretty decent business. Another way to free up a little money to do a little roster rebuilding when we get later in the season.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. We talked about when those first deals were made that you do it for half the season so that if you need it, you can use it then. If you don't, sell it again. And it looks like, yeah, they're deciding to sell it again. So I think we are, again, currently full up on international roster slots, meaning like we don't have any left to use. So if we are going to use the Dani Pereira money, it would likely have to be someone within the league, which would be the fastest way to get a replacement anyway, right? Is to do it that way. So not a lot of flexibility in that regard. So maybe that's a point against the hopes of actually bringing in a replacement.
Of making a move here. Yeah, I think that probably is. Well, before we get into the rest of the news, let's go ahead and take one more break, and then we'll close this one out with some Willie Nelson news. Got a World Cup story. We got we got a lot of random bits here in the last segment of the show.
All right, hang tight. We'll be right back.
Moon Tower Soccer is brought to you by Sage Wilson Realty, and this is where I'm going to take the privilege of possibly embarrassing myself, but I'm going to tie it back into the ad read. So you saw this on Instagram, and we talked about it before we started recording, but Jackson and I had the chance. We bought tickets. It's not like we got them free from the soccer ferry, but we bought tickets to see Egypt and Australia play in the round of 32 in Dallas on Friday. We got the game. We got 30 extra minutes. We got PKs. We got to see Mo Salah, who... favorite player. Never thought that I would ever have second favorite player than Virgil van Dijk. Never thought we'd have the chance to see him. Tickets ended up being in the Egypt end. So it was like a festive party environment. We do that. We go home. We go to bed. We go back to the hotel. We go to bed. I wake up the next morning, looking through highlights of the show and of the game, and they show Salah's PK, and they say, well, Salah steps up with this PK, takes a Panenka, scores a goal. And I'm like, that doesn't seem right because he just kicked it straight ahead and he didn't do it with the back of his other foot. And it's because I had Panekas and Rabonas confused for like 4 minutes. And I was like, that was really, really plain for what I think is a very fancy kick. But you know who won't mix your terms up? Eric Wilson from Sage Wilson Realty. He knows the difference between the two. And when it comes to real estate, he can do even more of that for you.
That's right. The right approach to your penalty kick can turn today's opportunity into your winning goal. If you're looking for Sage real estate advice in Austin, contact our friends at Sage Wilson Realty. Be sure to check them out online at Sage Wilson Realty. All right, we are back. We're going to talk about Willie Nelson and two political candidates leaking what looks like is to be Austin FC's third kit. But first, we're going to talk about the first Austin FC friendly of this off-season preseason, and also an Austin FC player being the first active player to appear in the World Cup.
Yeah, let's start with that one. So Jaden Nelson in Canada's loss in the knockout round gets in as a sub, 87 minutes in. So we do not get I think they were down by several goals at that point, right? So we did not get the hat trick in the last 5 minutes to pull it to victory, but still really cool for an Austin FC player to get that moment in the World Cup. And then another thing,
these were not pity moments either, minutes either. Like they were chasing it. I think it was 2-0 down when he went in, maybe. But he looks solid, almost to the degree. I'm like, maybe you should put him on earlier.
Maybe you should have more than 7 or 8 minutes, whatever he played.
Yeah.
Man, and then I was watching one of the matches in Mexico City and heard our friend Jeremiah Gallegos as
Yes, we haven't said English anything about that on the show.
Yeah, we haven't said that. So let's take a moment to recognize that. So he is in Mexico City at Azteca. I forget what they're calling it now, but I guess Mexico City,
I think. Yeah.
Stadium Mexico City. Yeah, doing the English language broadcast. And anybody that's ever heard an Austin FC match, as soon as you hear anything come over the PA, you're like, oh my gosh, that's the guy. So awesome for him.
I think he's been there the whole tournament as well, or at least was there for the beginning of it. Yeah. I don't know if he stayed there the whole time, but he's been there for multiple games. It's super cool to see just like little peripheral pieces of Austin FC kind of influencing the global game in this way.
Yeah, that was great to see him. So I forgot that we hadn't talked about that before, and I was really happy that we happened to think of it and do it now. So there's that news. We get also the Querétaro friendly that we talked about last week at St. David's Performance Center. I think the only thing that we actually got was from the Querétaro side. Did we see anything at all from Austin FC?
There was no social post, no press release, nothing from the Austin FC side. So I think all of the info came from the Querétaro side, meaning we kind of only got Querétaro updates and then pictures from the Querétaro side there just happened to be Austin FC players in there. So based on the photos that were released, it looks like they were doing kind of what they did in the real preseason, where it was mixed lineups. They're playing second team players in with first team players, probably full line changes at halftime. So I feel like we've said this in friendlies before where, okay, these games don't really matter, but you want to win them if you can. I think in this case, when you lose them, you just switch those two clauses and say, you want to win them if you can, but these games don't really matter.
But these games don't matter, yeah. Yeah, I know, especially when you do the mixed 11s, for 45 each. I think they probably don't at all. I thought this note in the Verde All Day article was kind of telling, like you said, it's since knowing the source, the only photos that we saw were like Austin players being run by Querétaro players, yeah, or whatever. They're not painted in their best light, so you probably really can't make anything out of what we happen to see on social media from this one.
One of the players I had to go look to find who it was because it was a second team player and I don't know all of their mug shots by memory. So I was like, I genuinely don't know who this guy is. I think he's a second team defender, but it was, but at this point don't remember again who it was.
We do get midseason friendly schedule resumes on Wednesday with a match against Sporting Club Jacksonville. And then the following Wednesday, we get Q2 Stadium match with Charlotte FC. And then everybody has a season ticket on July 18th, which is a Saturday, correct? We'll get open. I wrote open friendly, but it's open training, right?
Open training, yeah.
Probably with a intra-squad thing of some sort going on at some point, as have usually happened in the open trainings.
Yeah, I didn't get to go to the last one they did last year at Q2, so I missed that. I didn't get a feel of what all it looked like, but I would guess it will be something similar. And I think they also said that Davy Arnaud is going to be mic'd up for this one. Am I remembering that correctly?
Oh, I didn't see that one, but that might be a fun little aside to that. Although, I don't know, does Davey seem like a guy with a lot of personality? It doesn't seem so to me, but maybe he'll play it up with the mic.
I think he does. It's like a very specific one, though. It is like coach personality, but he seems to be a pretty energetic guy. So I think it'll be interesting to hear what he has to say. It'd also be interesting to see if like the glimpses we've got from other little pieces of footage of how he talks to players, how he is in training, if that changes when he knows that his voice is being amplified to a decent sized crowd.
Well, if we haven't talked about this, but like, has any of that changed when he's gone from assistant coach to head coach? I don't think it really has. He seems like the same dude, so far. I think you remember that was kind of a thing with Josh, right? Where like Josh was like a player's coach. Everybody loved him, kind of like assistant coach. Then when he sort of felt the responsibility of moving up, he approached things a little differently. But it seems like Davey's just Davey, from what I can tell.
Yeah, I would expect him to not change a ton. I'm sure some of it will to some degree out of necessity, but it seems like he'll kind of be the same guy.
Okay, well, let's go on to seeing Willie Nelson hanging out with politicians at his 4th of July picnic. And I guess, well, and then on his own social media site too. That's where we got to see the back of the jersey and sort of spoiling the third kit, although I think that's very much a wink, since obviously it was given to him from the club. And if you're going to break any news, having Willie Nelson break the news is a pretty good way to do it.
Yeah, it's the thing that we've seen the last few years. So I think 2 years ago, I think it was the watermelon kit. That one got accidentally leaked by a social media influencer. And there was quite a bit of fallout from that. So it seems that the club has taken it on themselves to intentionally leak it by letting an Austin celebrity wear it in a public appearance and like them putting it out on their stuff. So they can kind of control how it gets out to the public. So I think last year it was the band Annabelle Chairlegs. It's an act that they've worked with quite a bit over the years. They showed the whole band wearing the jersey at a show. This year, quite a bit more famous celebrity in Willie Nelson. And it was for the 4th of July picnic. So I think this part was interesting, is like how it got out first and the order of which these pictures came out, because the first pictures that I saw get posted were from
Gina Hinojosa, right, was the first one I saw, the Democratic candidate for governor.
And then James Tallarico also posted a photo, who's running for Senate. And so I was like, wow, I'm pretty surprised they let like political people be the people to leak it. But as the timeline went on, I'm like, okay, I don't think that was the plan. I think they were going to let Willie Nelson leak it. And these happened to be the first people to to post photos with him.
Yeah, and you wonder if they even knew. Like, did they have any idea that this was the first time that anybody's going to see these jerseys? Or did they're just like, I got a picture with Willie Nelson and it says Austin FC on it. My social media team says I need to take advantage of this.
I bet it wasn't even that. I bet it was, I got a picture with Willie Nelson. My social media team says I need to take advantage of this.
Right. That's true. Regardless of what he's wearing. No, that's probably true. So yeah, we do get the picture. Then we get the picture from Willie that's with his back that shows like him wearing jersey number 420, which what else could it be? And then it has the Yeti logo kind of on Willie's butt, which is very Mexican Liga MX and not something we've seen in MLS so far, at least.
Yeah. So what's your take on the jersey now that we've gotten not just AI reconstructed rumors, but like the real thing?
Yeah. And I think, first of all, the AI reconstruction rumors seem pretty good. They were pretty close. So it is violet. It's got sort of Austin in this retro font on the front with a white bar. It's got a collar. This collar was the same color as the kit. And I'd say that's my number one complaint. Wait, number one thing I like the collar. Number one complaint is like I wish the collar was white, like the no comply collar.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a little bit of pink trim on the edge of the collar, but I think you're right. I think it makes the collar pop a little bit more if there's like more of a contrast there. I think it's a little bit darker purple than I was expecting it to be. Maybe that's my ignorance of what the color violet is. I was picturing a slightly lighter shade of purple, but I'm not mad about it. I think it's cool. Maybe you already said this, but the Austin on the front has like a gradient.
I didn't. I want to know what you thought about that. I liked it, but I want to know what you thought about it.
I think it's cool. Like the Violet Crown nickname is discussing like the sunsets of Austin, right? So it's kind of like giving you the idea of a sunset with that gradient of a dark purple up top fading to a lighter pink at the bottom. I think that's great. It's the secondary Austin FC logo that maybe has a hint of a pink outline, or maybe that's just a little bit lighter stitching. It's hard to say. But very light pink trim on the edges as well, which I wasn't expecting that. But again, I do like it. I think based on the very vague descriptions, I thought I was going to like it. Based on the AI mock-up, I thought I was going to like it. And now that I'm seeing the real thing, guarantee, like it's confirmed, I do like it. But I do agree with you that I kind of would have preferred a white collar on it.
This is one that, just like every kit, there's division. And I feel like there was a lot of division in various Slack channels and on Reddit that I saw. It's very much division in this house on even whether the Violet Crown is a real thing that the average Austinite should care about. My wife being on that's an insider nerd thing and you shouldn't. And she's also not a fan of the kit. I, on the other hand, dig it. And I haven't bought the last 2 or 3, but definitely see myself picking this one up as soon as it's available.
Same. This is one that I will almost certainly be getting. Oh, and yeah, one other interesting detail. You mentioned it a bit, but the Yeti logo, generally a soccer jersey will have the logo front and center on the chest. Since it says Austin there, the logo, I almost said has to. It doesn't have to go anywhere, but the financial managers of Austin FC will want a sponsorship logo to go somewhere, and they're putting it on the lower back of the jersey, so like hanging down below players' butts. I think it looks kind of cool, but just because the Yeti logo just looks kind of cool, I think if we had a lamer sponsor, and you see this in some of the Liga MX jerseys, right, where it is just kind of a lame corporate logo at the very bottom of the jersey there. But the Yeti logo looks cool, so this looks cool. I wonder if there is a stipulation that says like Ilie can't tuck his shirt in when he's wearing this one.
Oh, right. Right. I wondered about that too, because that automatically then sort of negates the value to the sponsor of having it on there. But it would be funny to see Ilie like tuck his jersey.
Obligated to untuck your shirt.
Yeah, Ilie tucks his jersey, and then like somebody from the front office like runs out onto the field and like untucks it for him. That happens to be selling the Yeti sponsorship, but that may not be the case. But yeah, I wonder about that one too. Surely not.
Any other thoughts on the jersey? I guess as far as timeline goes, the long rumored timeline of release was August. I think that's in line with when other throwback third kits have come out for other clubs in the past. So I think we can probably expect that to be the case.
Yeah, I'm ready to pick it up whenever it is. I imagine we will see some information now that it's out there in the world, probably as soon as this week, on like when the pre-sale is, what the launch is going to be like, all those kinds of things that we usually get when we get a new kit. But I'm excited to see it.
All right, one last little piece of news is Austin FC 2. We discussed they're on a long winning streak. Was it 9 games? Is that the number?
9 games winning and like 13 without a loss, with the caveats that we gave last week for overtime not wins and stuff like that.
Yeah, so at the time you're hearing this, they will have already played the Colorado Rapids 2. And so hopefully they can get a win there and continue that streak. Not sure if they're going to have the first team players back ready to play for them again. So Urban Torres, Riley Thomas, Micah Burton, if they'll be available. I wouldn't be surprised if the first team kept them around for these first team friendlies and they kind of held them back either of their own volition or being forced to by MLS not letting their first team players play down during this break. But I would guess it'll be later on before those guys rejoin the second team, but we'll find out later tonight and in the past for you folks listening.
For everybody else. Yeah, and I think even without them, there's reason to believe that this one is probably going to be another victory because Colorado is last in the Western Conference. I believe they have 9 points in 18 matches. They've been outscored by a bunch. I went and looked them up to see if I'd heard of anybody on their roster, and not surprisingly, it did not. They have one dude that spent a few games with FC Cincinnati, but like didn't ever actually play. So
Kevin Cabral's twin brother doesn't play for them anymore.
no. Or I was like, wait, who was the guy that we wanted Austin to pick when they picked Danny? Or we didn't want to, but then it was their first pick. Didn't he end up being a Rapids 2 guy for a while?
Philip Mayaka. I think he was picked by them. I can't remember how much he actually played there, but he ended up moving around some and ended up playing on the East Coast somewhere. But I don't remember where he is now. But I don't think he spent a long time in Colorado.
And he is definitely not being traded for $2.1 million in GAM.
Correct.
In the league anytime soon. So probably the best sporting decision Claudio Reyna ever made was taking Dani Pereira over him with that pick.
Yeah, that's probably true. Anything else, Jeremiah? Are we good here?
No, I think we can wrap it up.
All right. Jeremiah and I are about to get ready to watch the Mexico game. As I said before, if something absolutely crazy happens on Monday, maybe we'll do a quick record and plug it into this, and you would have heard that at this point. But if not, we'll talk about whatever happens next week. We'd like to remind you to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Come find us on Instagram. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back next week to cover whatever happens in Austin FC world. Until then, I'm Landon Cottom.
I'm Jeremiah Bentley.
We'll catch you next time.
When no one is around.
Think for nothings you never.
La gente. Oh my God.
Zula Chupa Boom Sauce.
Yeah.